Well, the mission field of southwestern Minnesota has all kinds of different communities. We have a lot of rural, small towns. We have county seat communities, and on the eastern edge we have large suburban-like communities like St. Cloud and the communities around it. Several congregations are working together in area parishes, or they're in 2 or 3 or even 4-point configurations, all seeking to serve the mission of Jesus as effectively as they can in their current context. One of the things that's happening to our synod is that God is bringing all kinds of new neighbors from all over the world to our synod's life, and actually our synod historically has been quite diverse with many different Lutherans coming from all kinds of different places, and that will continue to be the case in the coming years.
Well, let's see, I started in the fall of 2004, and seminary costs for that academic year, tuition was $8,500, and it's been going up each year. Last year was $9,000, and now this year the costs are $9,700 for tuition.
When I came out with a tuition rate of $600. And at that time, guidelines were such that I was called into my first parish call with a package of about $8,000. And so if you want to compare whether or not the church has kept pace, I think that's always kind of interesting to ask, well, how are we doing in keeping pace with the cost and so on and so forth. So if you look at what the rate of tuition was, $600, and my package of $8,000, you're saying, well, it's at least 12 times. My first package was at least 12 times the amount of tuition that I graduated out of.
I think that for those people who are in the call process, if they were to know that a synod has funds that would be available or would help them in their debt reduction or in pension equity, as they make a decision about a call for a congregation that might not be able to give that to them, but through these funds that those supplemental monies would be there, or that addition would be there, I think that would help be an attractive draw for someone who's in the call process.
I do think that any such help following ordination would be great, as far as debt reduction, pension equity, to help attract pastors to come to the more rural areas. I think my classmates, if they were aware of more rural synods who are doing those sort of things, that would increase their interest very much to come to Southwest Minnesota and enter into ministry. And so I think anything that can be done along those lines would be very beneficial.
So Southwestern Minnesota Synod has always been a hothouse for growing leaders for God's church. Our small towns and our rural parishes often serve as the first call for new pastors. One of our objectives in this, as we try to build these endowments, is to not only support these pastors as they serve in their first calls and deepen the length of time they serve in their first call, but also encourage them to continue to serve in rural and small town settings, because the skills they're developing will continue to help these settings grow deeper and more vital ministries. So we hope we will not only care for them at the beginning, but that we might actually support and encourage them to stay on the prairie and in small towns and in county seat towns to serve the gospel in our mission field.
In 2000, at our Southwest Minnesota Synod Assembly, a resolution was passed to establish a task force to study this issue. And I had the privilege of leading that task force. And very early on, we discovered in our research that educational debt and financial issues were a huge challenge for especially our first call pastors. One pastor, in response to our survey, said, "Help us, we are drowning." We discovered that more than 90% of our first call pastors carried substantial seminary debt and other educational debt, and that amounted to monthly payments of anywhere from $450 for an individual up to $1,050 for a clergy couple. And at that time, that was equivalent to about 25% of their monthly salary.
I think that the gifts that will be received into this fund will also help those people who are coming here as first call seminarians. If there are funds in any way to help them and to alleviate their debt, even in the smallest of ways, that will be a great way to invite people to be a part of this synod and know that we're trying very much to help them in alleviating that debt in small and large ways. That will be very important.
I want to thank you for the privilege of having some of your time to talk about our leadership support funds that we're gathering resources for. Thanks for your local ministry that you have been doing, but I also want to thank you for your consideration of this opportunity to support pastors and congregations to deepen the Synod's ministry in the years to come. In our lifetime, we have opportunities to make a difference that go on beyond our lifetime. This fund, as it touches the lives of pastors and helps them to serve more faithfully and for a longer time in their settings in rural and small town congregations, it's going to make a huge difference for each of those pastors' lives. More importantly, it's going to make a bigger difference for the rural communities and small membership congregations of our synod, that their pastors are able to serve with them with joy and for a longer time that will deepen their ability to serve the gospel of Jesus. So thanks for your consideration. Thanks for whatever you do. May God bless you as you live out your many vocations.